Big moment. One of the ideas was simply to say, folks in Alabama have had enough, and nothing's getting done in Alabama, so it's time to take it all the way to DC, to the Department of Justice. Now, I prepared some words so I didn't forget what I wanted to say, so forgive me for having a piece of paper in front of me. Good afternoon. My name is Mona Song, and I'm an outside organizer with Unheard Voices of the Concrete Jungle. When I say outside, I mean outside as in the free world, if you want to call it free. It is an important distinction because Unheard Voices, OTCJ, is actually led by inside organizers. That is, freedom fighters who are incarcerated behind the prison walls in Alabama. And we must emphasize here today, and continue to emphasize, that the struggle to end prison slavery is one that is led by incarcerated people. We saw this in the national prison strikes of 2016 and 2018 that received national media attention and has begun to shift the conversation back to the humanity of our incarcerated loved ones and the injustice of the prison industrial complex. Are we live streaming? Yes. I love y'all out there. We're live streaming because there are people behind the walls that might be able to see this, or in the future will be able to see this. Yeah. Those strikes, the national prison strikes, and this model of organizing through work stoppages, shutdowns, and nonviolent collective action actually owes very much to the Free Alabama movement in Alabama. So here we are now today to say, as Unheard Voices OTCJ, and to uplift some of those same voices of freedom fighters from them who are still fighting today. And we want to name Kinetic Justice Amun and Swift Justice, among many others, and we recognize Alameen as well. If they could be here, they would be here. They are here. All of these guys are with us. We see you, we love you. Today we are amplifying the voices of those inside at a particularly critical time in Alabama, and in the face of extreme violence, 160 to 180% overcrowding, and extreme corruption. We are here 6 months after the release of the Department of Justice's report finding conditions of cruel and unusual punishment inside those prisons. We are here 6 months now, and the Department of Justice has not filed suit against the state of Alabama. We are here, and the only thing we have heard is that Alabama is going to find an Alabama solution. We are here because while the Department of Justice does nothing, our loved ones are dying. We are here carrying the message of our loved ones inside, and together, inside and out, we are shaking the earth that we walk on, demanding that the Department of Justice file suit. We are also shouting the cry heard at Attica on the first day of the country's bloodiest prison uprising, because that cry is now coming from behind Alabama's prison walls. We are men. It is a cry declaring humanity in the face of a system and a corrupt Department of Corrections that treats and regards incarcerated men and women as less worthy of life than drug dogs. The loss of life at Attica was the result of the Department of Justice's inaction during and after that uprising. And our freedom fighters inside today are standing up and demanding that the Department of Justice file suit in order to prevent a repeat of that bloody history. We are here to expose the fact that everything Alabama politicians and the ADOC has done since the issuance of that report is actually in exact opposition to the actions that would in fact relieve the overcrowding, relieve the violence, and hold responsible parties accountable within the ADOC for their ongoing criminal activities.
I want to thank all of y'all for coming and standing in the gap for the people that are behind the walls, for the people that are struggling, for the people that are being broken, for the people that are being brutalized, for the people that are being intimidated, for the people that cannot stand on their own, for the people that don't know how to stand, for the people that don't have a voice, for the people that's not trying to have a voice. For all these people, we thank you so much. I am one of the women that's standing in the gap for the people that have been incarcerated, because I served 14 years in the state penitentiary. So I stand in the gap for the people that have shed tears, for the people that has been beaten, for the people that has been brutalized, for the people that's been treated cruel and unusual. We have seen these things We know these things. So every time you get together and every time you rally, every time you have a meeting, it's all for a purpose. It's all for a plan. So we all thank you. And I stand in the gap for the rest of my sisters and brothers that's standing behind the walls right now, that is walking these walks, talking these talks, is getting beat, getting all their privileges stripped from them because they want to stand where you stand in the land of freedom, supposedly in the land of light, supposedly in the place where we should have all our constitutional rights acknowledged, in the place where people will see us as being human beings. So we thank you all for standing in this, because it's time for the uprising, it's time for the roars, it's time for the things that we have put forth, it's time for all these doors to be open, it's time for no more new prisons. We don't need it. We need real rehabilitation. We need real correction. We calling forth the states to be able to bring forth the things that they was already ordained to be able to bring forth, the things that they was all supposed to have in act, the things that we are working for now. DOC, they owe us this. Department of Corrections, they owe us this. We are demanding them that they give us what we owe. We are owing due this. It's long overdue and it's long past time. So every rally that y'all stand, y'all standing for the broken. Y'all standing for the bruised. You standing for the families. You standing for the children without parents. You standing for the people that has died for these very things now. We have seen them be killed in the prison to be able to stand here and say enough is enough and it's time for change. And we welcome it and change this day. We're not leaving here unless we get the change that we demand for, because we have fought hard behind those walls. We have cried long, hard tears to be able to see the change to come forth with DOC, and we expect them to do what they're supposed to do. We stand here and we fight for them to do what they're supposed to do, because our people are hurting there every single day.
Today before I got here, I sent a text message to a couple of my good comrades on the other side of the wall, and I told them, I got your back. Do you know what that means? To have somebody's back? Yeah. Because where I'm from, what it means is if you're on the other side of this wall and somebody's choking you out, how could I say I love you if I don't come back there and get you? Amen. Where I'm from, when you say I got your back, it means if somebody's stomping you out on the pavement and I'm watching you from across the street and I don't come over there and do anything about it, how could I say I love you? So what are we doing today when we gather here? We're expressing our love. We're expressing love in a real way for people who need our love. Who's going to stand up for the people on the other side of the wall if we don't do it? Who's going to make their case heard when they don't have a voice to speak up about the truth, the inhumane treatment, the allegations, the true allegations? Raise your hand right now if you've heard a story about somebody on the other side of the wall that broke your heart. Look around you. We're all here because we're personally connected to this tragedy. We're personally connected to these people, these human beings that are being treated like less than animals. Don't you know that a dog died a couple weeks ago? And I heard a couple of people had a ceremony celebrating the life of this dog. Now, I love dogs. I've got a dog. I got a pit bull. He's amazing. I miss him. He's in Atlanta, Georgia. But I tell you what, any group of people, any institution that holds the life of a dog above that of a human being, that's suffering at the hand of their own wickedness, well, I don't know about you, but I think that's a wicked system. Yes. So those signs that you hold in your hands that say no new prisons, I want to get into a chant. I want you to hold those signs high in the sky. I don't want you to scream. I want you to shout. I want you to shout like you're speaking to that person on the other side of the wall. I want you to shout like you want them to hear you. No, I want you to shout like you want them to feel you. No new prisons. No new prisons. No